And I believe that we are live. All right, so let me change this to for some reason it has you highlighted, which is fine. All right, check it out, folks. We're about ready to get started. Today is the final U.S. presidential debate, independent third-party presidential debate, and just have a quick things. If you have set a lofty, all the presidential candidates that are participating today, a lot of you have set lofty goals, and some of you sacrificed incredible amounts to make a bold play. Right now, we are facing an aristocracy of party leadership that has raised itself and is corrupt and excludes the grassroots, such as myself and many others. The same cancerous rot and corruption that is similar to the ones that are known about regarding Harvey Weinstein and Puff Daddy, complete with the celebrities and rampant sexual abuse that infest the duopoly, has also infected the third-party independent space, I'm sad to say. 2 years ago, I ran the Unified Platform 22 program, but although a lot of people talk about unity, the commitment isn't really there. For unity, a lot of gatekeepers are running these programs from the top, and they're keeping us siloed off and separated. Although a lot of people, such as Green Party member Jill Stein, make money off of these ideas, and actually they're involved with bearing the narrative and the message carried by multiple Green candidates participating in today's event and beyond. Today's event is a celebration of the resistance movement in the third party space that has been purposefully silenced by the media, which is infested with operatives working on priorities of their own. So I'm really happy to actually have these candidates here. A lot of them are working on specialized issues. Just give a big shout out to Alan Kalinj, right? I think he's one of the most successful candidates that's participating tonight in terms of his work, as in terms of addressing student loans. And I think he's run a phenomenal campaign. I think it's definitely one to be studied in this cycle and beyond. But right now we're going to hear from Susan Bushel-Hockey. She's actually helped to underwrite this program, made this whole entire series possible. Really appreciate Susan deeply, and I'm going to give her a moment to actually make a short presentation. Go ahead, Susan.
Okay, thank you, DJ Elf 7, and really thank you for organizing this. I appreciate all the work you do for us candidates, but also in the background, the things you do for the wrongfully incarcerated and for the home people living in shelters and things like that. And you're really hard at work, and I appreciate all that you do, and that's why I support you. So what I wanted to do with this section was just give information on how to vote for candidates who are not Democrats or Republicans. And in fact, if you like the way the country is going, you should vote for them, and all of us should vote for who we want. But I think write-in candidates, we have a lot of good ones this year, and I think we need to think about them. So to write in a candidate's name, you will get your ballot, and there will probably be some spaces on it like this where you'll have like names of the presidents and the vice presidents, or even governors, and then there might be a write-in space. But make sure you color in the little dot next to the blank space, or sometimes it'll be written in, write-in candidate. Sometimes it'll be blank like that. And sometimes the dot will be on this side. So you have to make sure you color in the dot and you write in the name of the person as best you can. It doesn't have to be perfect, but as best you can. So we have quite a few write-in candidates here in this debate. And then in other debates that I've posted on my social media networks and things like that, there are lots of other ones. There's over 100 candidates, but the two big parties have the media in their back pocket, and they are just spending constantly money. That's why they're still asking for money too, because the more money they give to the media, the less the media will cover other candidates. And I don't know if you've noticed, but they've been covering the Green Party's candidates and the Libertarian Party's candidates now, and that's only because they're running out of money. So this is a good sign. So stop giving them money. The other thing that I want to say is a lot of you heard me and you got unregistered. But because you're unregistered, or if you've never voted before, that doesn't mean that you can't vote now. And don't let them push you around and say, oh, you have to be registered to vote to vote. So the trick is you want to be asking, if you're unregistered voter, to ask for a provisional ballot when you go in to vote. And if you are a registered voter, then you just go in and you tell them your name and do whatever instructions they want. If you're a provisional ballot voter, You need to bring your IDs with you. That means you need to bring your passport or your birth certificate, and you need to bring proof of where you're living. And then you also need to bring, if you've changed your name at all. So if you've taken on a second name, like if you got married and you're a woman, you need to bring proof that you changed your name so that your ballot will be counted. Um, yeah. So these things are all important. The other thing is that if you're not registered and you don't know where you have to go to vote, you still have to vote in the proper poll place. If you don't vote at the proper place, they will not count your ballot, supposedly. That's what I've heard. So you have to call tomorrow your county clerk and find out where you, at your address, should go and vote if you're not a registered voter. So you call up, you say, hey, this is where I live. Where do I have to go and vote? And they should be able to tell you where to go and vote. You can also possibly check it on their website to find out where you have to exactly go and vote. So make sure you go to the right place so your vote gets counted. And whether you're registered or not, you should be able to vote. Nobody should be able to stop you from voting. Just take the right IDs, and then it should be possible.
All right.
And like I
Thank you so
said,
much. Yeah. So now we're going to have all the
yeah.
candidates introduce themselves right quick. Then we're going to have the moderator do a quick introduction, about 2 minutes each. So Susan, since you've already kind of like, why don't you do a quick introduction of yourself and your campaign?
Okay, so my name is Susan Maud Buxer-Lahaki, but I'm a write-in candidate, and the minimum you have to write in is Susan Buxer, and that's SUSANBUCHSER. You can find out more about me and my campaign and all my doings at Susan4USA.com. That's Susan, the number 4, USA.com. And there you can find out all the different social media platforms I'm on and everything like that. But I'm already working for you in many ways. I have a lawsuit pending with the Supreme Court about this thing called registering to vote that we've been hearing about all these past months and definitely the last couple of days, with all the illegal names, illegal aliens, dead people, are on this list and they're voting. And then it also happened to me. I lived for 20 years in Switzerland, and definitely 2 times during that time, I did not send in my ballot. And apparently, I was told I voted in every election while I was gone. So that means somebody voted for me for those 2 times, for sure. Maybe all those times. But the point is that fraud is out there. I have a lawsuit pending with the Supreme Court to end this thing called registering to vote and to start using the Social Security list, because every citizen only has one number and one address. And so you don't get to vote in multiple states if you own homes in different states and everything else. It's, we've had enough. And I've heard it. I ran it for president in 2020. Then I ran for Congress in 2022, and now again for president in 2024. And I've heard all over the country about how much fraud is in the system, how people don't feel their voice is being heard.
All right.
And you're right. And
Can
it's
we get your
time to
website and
vote
all
them
that?
out, vote somebody else in so that your voice can be heard.
Yeah. What's your website?
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Give me a second. Yeah. What's your website?
Susan4USA.com. That's Susan, the number 4, USA.com.
Okay, cool. All right, let's go to Alan Kalinj and hear a little bit about his campaign and who he is.
Sure. Well, hello, everybody. Good evening, America. My name is Alan Collins. I'm running for president. I am fiercely independent. I think this is where everybody who actually did their research ends up. I can tell you that democracy is on the ballot this election year, but you won't see it on the list of candidates you see. It will only be there when you write in a candidate that hasn't been captured by, I would say, the uniparty. You call it what you want, but I can tell you that the number one thing that compelled me to run was the fact that on my issue, student loans, both parties have abandoned and betrayed us. So my number one priority is erasing and replacing the federal student loan program. There are 40 million voters who are going to go to bed tonight and lose sleep because they are underwater on their federal student loans. It is a catastrophically failed, unconstitutional, viciously predatory loan scam. And I will end it. I will cancel every nickel of federally owned student loan debt. I will return standard, constitutionally enshrined bankruptcy rights to all student loans. And so when you go to vote on Tuesday, remember, you can actually have an impact in this election. You can actually not throw your vote away, particularly if you have student loans, and vote for Alan Collins. Beyond that, I would urge everyone to go to my website, collinsforpresident.com. I'm very interested in taxing the wealthy hugely at post-World War II tax levels. I'm very interested in reducing government spending by 30% so that we can actually solve our national debt, kind of like they did after World War II. Cut spending, raise taxes on the wealthy. I'm extraordinarily concerned about privacy, about censorship, and about data gathering, both by our federal government and by for-profit, private, and other entities. So, but you can see the rest of my platform. It's comprehensive. Unlike Kamala Harris, I actually put up a very detailed, comprehensive platform. So, collinsforpresident.com. Thank you.
It's an honor to have you here, and just so you know, I'm also on his Facebook group. His Facebook group has a lot of current and ongoing information. Right now, there's a lot of changes being made to, you know, student loans and stuff like that. And honestly, I found it to be a great resource for myself, as in terms of being able to keep on top of what's going on currently. So once again, look up Alan Collins on Facebook. I just find him a wonderful resource. He's the top activist, and he's been working on this for maybe over a decade now. But he's been working on it for a long time, and he's definitely the leader as in terms of fighting student loans. Go ahead.
I've been doing this for 20 years now. I am the first activist in the country on the student loan issue. I wrote the first book to be published that was critical of the student loan program. And I run the first, largest, and actually only uncorrupted group. Normal people. We don't have deals with the industry, et cetera. All the other groups do. We are the center of the universe. We are the tip of the spear in the battle for student loan justice. So
over 1 million people signed your petition too. I think by far Alan Collins, I think, is the most accomplished candidate as in terms of outreach and in terms of just length of and Susan, don't want to completely Alan is wonderful, by the way. Susan's also very good. She formerly ran for president on the Green Party. She's also run for House of Representatives. She's experienced in the electoral realm as well. But these two I know. I'm excited to meet some of our other ones. Davi, he also ran for mayor. He's going to introduce himself next, and there's a guy named John Gibbs who's new. So I've been reaching out to Reform Party for a long time. So let's go ahead, Davi. You're up. Go ahead.
Greetings to my fellow humans of our great nation, America. We made it. We made it to the presentation of a core solution for our society with no more room for complaints. New conversations for new results in our nation and in our world. I am Davi, artist tech founder, 2021 candidate for mayor of New York City and avatar of Earth. In New York City 2020, I am about to ensure the sacred protection, harmony, and natural evolution of humanity and Earth. I'm running to earn your vote in 2024 as President of America and leader of the free world. My website is bydavi.com. I am an independent write-in presidential candidate. Last month, I received third place out of the candidates who ran for the Green Party's 2024 presidential nomination. A monumental achievement considering I am the youngest presidential candidate and our campaign has no external financial backing, a first-time, self-funded, grassroots, volunteer-based campaign. We continue as an independent write-in campaign, and thank you, Susan, for your demonstration of how to use the ballot. All of you, if you choose, you can write DAVI, 4 letters in the box for president. Why? Because we are the first and only actual plan for democracy and equality. This campaign is from our hearts to the hearts of America, so that maybe we can get a new heartbeat. I've partnered with my campaign manager, Nissan Pitcher, and my vice presidential candidate, Susanna Tanner, fellow true warriors in the advocation for a brighter nation, joining us in the audience today. My areas of focus in the campaign include rehabilitation and recycling, providing healing-oriented support for those ailing in body, mind, and/or behavior, finding harmony and balance between usage and contribution to Earth, The American Refresh, a 4-year transition where through paced collective voting, Americans vote for the exact government that we want moving forward, intentionally managing the growth of technology. And finally, the emergency mediator wing of the police that on demand mediates tough situations and conversations without guns, without batons or slow court dates. The red and blue, election after election, have proven to the American voter their commitment to war and disaster and their missing commitment to the core principles of humanity and the preservation of Earth. But that is just a choice. We can now make another. They had their chance, and wouldn't it be great if we had a chance for us? I'm here to present to you another way, another choice of vision called Earth Order. I'm going to explain the core points, and if you believe this would be better for the humans of America, you can agree by saying, indeed, when I point to you. Earth Order is a new choice that offers direct democracy, an online voting system that allows us to ongoingly vote for the exact government that we want moving forward. A new choice that provides equal salaries for chosen work. A new choice where all have access to quality housing through a housing exchange. A new choice that covers all healthcare costs. Now, you may think I might not be able to hear you right now, but I do. And because of that, I think that means that you should support what you have agreed is better for the humans of America, the things that you want for our American society, regardless of which candidate is presenting it. Today, we released my final speech of the 2024 campaign called The Movement of a Few Clicks. You can check it out at byte.com. Thank you, DJ L, for hosting this again today. He's actually somebody who covered me during my 21 candidate for mayor of New York City period. So it's really great to really go full circle with you in this day.
All right, yeah. We have a new candidate who hasn't worked with before. He's a member of well, I'm letting him speak about himself. John, you here?
Yes, I'm a member of the Reform Party, which is a centrist party. I decided to run. I'm a single father, so education and our economy are like the top things for me. I've just jumped into the presidential race like about 70 days beforehand, but I'm a write-in in about 15 different states right now. So I do want to thank DJ for hosting this, and Susan, awesome job for that. Basically, I'm wanting to push for a better America for everybody and not just those who are at the very top. I think that every American has a voice, and I think that we need to push and remind our government that their job is to serve our need, or the needs of the American people, and not the ambitions of corporate sponsors who fund their campaigns. And that's what I'm going to fight for if I'm president. Thanks.
Excellent. You have a website so that people can check out your stuff?
Oh, yes, sorry. GibJones24.com. It has links to our social media accounts.
Awesome. I think I saw Fiorino jump in the room. Am I correct? Fiorino, you here? I don't think we did a sound check on you. Are you still here? Let me check the list. If not, I might get to the moderators. Oh, yeah. Mr. Fiorino is here. I believe he's the last presidential candidate. Paul, you here?
How you guys doing?
Go ahead, Paul. You got this.
Okay, I'm out on the campaign trail in Denver, Colorado, wishing you all the best for Tuesday's turnout. We usually have the best turnout in Denver and Colorado, and have been the way you know that is when you're attacked, okay, for having the best system in the United States, as far as I'm concerned. And I've been a part of this for 20 years and done my fair share of going to court and challenging certain signatures and such what. But I believe that always tightens things up, keeps everybody on their toes. And I believe that this election hopefully will have the strongest turnout of all manners of society and class, or whatever you want to call the voters. And Susan, I know you're right about the ID and the Social Security factor. But the Social Security is the thing that they're gonna put on our forehead, or wherever the Christians are proposing as they get into office. And it's a shame they have kidnapped, our Jesus Christ. And I'm really concerned about that. But that's okay. We know who's in control, and we know how we operate in this environment, because it's a very tough environment. But I think just by getting people to vote, voto, you know. I just happened to be at the in Denver's public trustees in front of their office today, and there was a camera group. So I got some camera time, and whether they'll put it on, because I didn't pay them to be on their station. But I'm the only candidate who has run since 2006 by 1 penny, meaning that's all it takes is 1 cent, your cents, to just, you know, get into this political environment and don't let it go, you know, to the wayside, especially our democracy. We fought, and my parents fought so hard to, you know, to gain for us for this day. For this day, you see what we're up against. You know what we're up against. I don't have to tell you. He comes out of his mouth directly. Everyone on this panel, everyone listening, you have a voice, and that's your vote. And so I want to kind of leave it with that, but I'm not running for president right now. I am running against Lauren Boebert. Raise your hand if you've heard of Boebert. Okay, I know you all have, because she's continually on the commercials, every commercial here. So what does Fiorino have a chance as a unity party candidate who essentially I'd let Cornel West take my, you know, my nomination so that I could run against Boebert, so I could run directly against President Trump. So here we go. So is this what the race we're on? Is this the 2028 race that we're all going to face in 2028 with someone who thinks he cannot be voted out anymore? So here we are, folks. I'm just saying that I'm a CD4 candidate for Colorado, and I'm running for that seat to be another independent, because I'm truly unaffiliated.
I think Paul's
And
making
that's
a lot of
when-
shop, so it's hard for like the regular layperson to understand what he's saying, but I get everything he's talking about. CD4 means Congressional District 4. That means he's running for federal office, United States Congress.
Correct.
Fiorina has run several times before. A very intelligent man. You know, if you're in this game, but by the way, I have the complete list of all candidates who ran the 22 and 24 election cycles, so I have more candidate interviews than any other YouTuber, so I am specially designed for an audience who would actually understand things that you're talking about, yeah? Sorry to talk so much shop if y'all don't understand what he's talking about. Anyways, you got to be part of this election cycle, yeah? But we have a lot of, now we're going to, oh, by the way, before I go to the moderators, can you just tell me real
Fiorino for
quick, do you have a
Colorado.
website and stuff where people can follow your work?
Yes, FiorinoForColorado.com.
Yeah, you've also been a
And
ballet
then-
dancer. You've also been a published author, correct?
Yeah, I got a lot of music. The music might feed your soul during this time, because again, as a Christian, my music is labeled as that, but no, it's for everyone to just hear that message and not the message of fear and doom and gloom and everything else.
Okay.
So we really have a lot to look forward to, and I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you are too.
I'm very
Okay,
excited about
but DJ, I'm on the road. You know, I'm campaigning on my bicycle,
see
and
that.
I'm not wearing this trash. I'm not picking up trash. Okay.
I see. I know what you're doing. Yeah, late at night. Yeah, out there. It's almost election
Okay.
season. You gotta go. Yeah, I'm with you, bro.
No, I'll be around. I'll keep you on tab, so I'll be listening. Thank
I
you.
understand.
Good to
God
see
bless.
everybody.
Good to see you, man. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
All right.
All
So
the best to everyone.
tonight I actually have the moderators are specially designed for third-party issues related. So I'm so excited. Wolfgang. Actually, I have interviewed with him way back. Go ahead, yeah, Wolfgang. Tell him what's up.
Well, my name is Wolfgang von Baumgart. I'm the Secretary General of the Independent Party of Delaware. That is Delaware's third largest and most rapidly growing party. We have over 11,000 members, and we may hit over 12,000 members before the year is over. Our platform and other information is available on independentpartyofdelaware.com. and we were founded on August 29th of 2000. So this is our 22nd year and our 11th election cycle. We are poised to elect Delaware's first independent senator, Dr. Michael Katz, and his information is also on our website, and it'll take you to his website as well. So the current poll indicates that he's running neck and neck with the Democratic candidate. And so we do have an excellent chance of getting an independent senator in Delaware. So we stand for government reform, and instead of complaining about the inadequacy of certain legislation, we write our own legislation. So we have an inspector general bill also on our website. So that's what we're about. The Independent Party of Delaware exists to have an alternative to the closed loop special interest driven two-party system.
Excellent. Yeah. Just so you know, Delaware is actually the #1 state that licenses corporations, and also, because of like certain laws that make it a very interesting state. Also, Biden is from there, and once again,
Well, that's why we're here.
Yeah, from Delaware, right? Yeah.
That is why we're here. We definitely need an alternative to the two-party or the uniparty system in Delaware.
Absolutely.
There's something called the Delaware Way. We're here for some serious reform.
I'm sure all the candidates right now really are very oh, you can't hear me well on YouTube? I'm sorry. Yeah. Look, I know all the candidates right now are very excited to meet you, right? They really want to make pitch to your members. They would love exactly your membership is exactly who they're looking for. So, yeah, I'm excited to have you as a moderator. Okay, let's move to the next. Oh, wait, share your website before we move on to the next one.
IndependentPartyofDelaware.com.
Okay. All right. So let's move on to Stevenson. You here?
Yep.
Introduce yourself. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, my name's Stevenson Malloy. I'm from New Jersey. For the Kennedy campaign, I was on the national communication team and ran New Jersey Student for Kennedy. Now I am currently involved with a 501c4 nonprofit advocating for a third-party issue, Unity for you. I am a founding member of the New Jersey Pirate Party about copyright reform and all that. And I am also setting up my own run for a state assembly for 2025. Nice to have everyone here.
Do you have like a website or anything like that?
Nothing.
Social media where people can follow your work?
I am still setting that up and everything.
All right.
I have
like
personal Reddit and everything, but
yeah,
I don't have anything specialized for.
Keep watching this channel. I'm gonna make some stuff. I'm gonna help Stevenson set up like at least a Facebook page. That's minimum. That's easiest, right? That's free. So that's like a good place to start right there. And then we'll get him QR code and all that stuff. That's also free. And really looking forward to this guy. I've seen he's actually has a lot of relevant work. Once again, props to work in the Unity Party. I think you were students for RFK. That's some powerful work right there. So I'm really happy to have you here. Muti Ojama Sabaru, I'm so glad you could stop by. Oh my goodness, you're here? Muti is just, I'm introducing him while he's getting his stuff probably unmuted and stuff. Muti's actually from Pennsylvania, very key swing state. He actually was out like a little bit more than a year now. He was imprisoned since the age of 17, wrongfully incarcerated for, I believe, 42 years. And he actually has a tie to Mumia Abu Jamal, the United States' most famous political prisoner. They were actually, I think, when Mumia was first brought in, he was brought in the same jail as Muti. Muti's been an incredible activist. Muti, you still there? Anyways, just you can check out. Maybe he's getting his stuff set up. Yeah, he's still. The technology is like a big jump for him after getting out. He's incarcerated for most of his life, but he's actually. We have a video on why Josh Shapiro isn't actually the VP for Kamala Harris. Right, this information has not been put out there. They were going to announce that he was the VP, but due to work that Muti and others did behind the scenes, he's not been selected. Okay, they don't want to talk about that. All right, folks, we're going to start off the questions today. After we're going to go round robin. So first, I'm going to ask a question. Then Wolfgang's going to ask a question. Then Muti's going to ask a question. We're just going to go round. And my bad, Stevenson. Then Muti's going to ask a question. We're just going to go round robin. So I'm going to shoot off this first question like this, folks. Okay. Tonight we have a chance to really make history. We have a chance to really, as a presidents, and I think one of the things going on is we know that President Trump, I think, is going to be elected to president, right? Is right now battling against felony charges, right? And the thing is that other U.S. presidents that are running against him can say something for or against, and they could even try to insert their own right cause maybe a little bit into that answer. These your responses will be collected and submitted to the DA, to the judge, and will be recorded for history as in terms of what other U.S. presidents had to say regarding the arrest of President Trump and his sentencing, which will happen after the election. I'm going to start off with Alan Kalinj. Go ahead. 2 minutes, please. Or you don't have to just answer if you don't want to, but I think it would be great. Yeah. Does anybody want to?
No, I'm happy to weigh in.
Go ahead.
I'm fiercely nonpartisan. I don't like the Democrats or the Republicans. The entire system just turns my stomach. But what we saw happen to Donald Trump was absolute political lawfare. It was unconscionable. The charges should have never been levied. And quite frankly, everybody who has been incarcerated from January 6th should have been released months, if not years ago. As president, I would certainly pardon all of those folks. And this is a very, very dangerous path that leads us down to places that we've seen in years and decades past in very tyrannical, authoritarian banana republic regimes. We can't go there.
Amazing. Susan, you got anything to say about that?
Yeah, well, his felonies are about this hiding the facts. He had a relationship with a prostitute or something. So I believe that we have to leave that up to the judge to decide. I'm suspicious that they keep pushing this back. So that proves how much money is behind the scenes being pushed back. So we know that Vance is going to be vice president, right? So then if the election goes that way, so that means that if Trump gets sentenced and has to go to prison, then Vance is president, right? So what happens then? So this is a bit of a tricky, scary, weird thing. So I don't know if Republicans are out there watching. You really got to think about that. Is DJ Vance really ready to be president? And because that could be what's going to happen. So I don't know. I mean, I think he's had some trouble with women in his life, and he's had several marriages. So I don't know. Maybe he's not the best guy for women.
I understand. Okay, let's move on to
could be an issue.
Let's move on to Andrew right quick. Yeah, I'm sorry, John Gibbs. You ready to say something about this?
So I kind of agree with both of you, actually. I agree that he's had trouble past with women. However, I also agree that this is lawfare that is being used. So they did the same thing to Bobby Kennedy, too. I was actually, before I joined, a supporter of his. They filed lawsuits to remove him from the ballots. And I think these lawfares, somebody needs to stick up and say something about it. Because, for the last several years, nobody said a single word about Trump on anything that he was allegedly doing until he decided to run for president. And that's something that I'm, kind of look at. If I was president, I would, just like Alan, give a pardon to the individuals on January 6th. I think it was a whole weird situation altogether, but yeah.
Okay. All right. So what about the last? Oh, Davi. What do you think about this, Davi?
So I reject the premise of the question. Davi for President 2024. The self-esteem of our nation seems to be a bit low. We've become pessimistic, as you've already heard in this. We are okay, some of us, with a convicted criminal being the leader of the free world. We're not nice to each other. We're angry. The police and military recruitment is low because people generally don't believe in the structure of our government. So our nation is becoming uninspired because we don't have a foundation of a government we can trust. Talking to so many people this year, and as an empath, I felt the weight of our nation. The Darby campaign creates a direct relationship with the American government so that we may be able to declare our own stance on everything, whether it be foreign policy, whether it be our financial system, whether it be how we're dealing with our education systems. We have to begin to be optimistic and vision the society that we want, rather than allowing it to be something that we don't fight for, that we don't care enough to actually dream bigger than we're gonna not make it.
Okay, let's we also have Fiorino. Are you still here? No, Fiorino's just listening in, right? But we do have actually another president's candidate who just jumped in. He's actually been with us before. Dennis Andrew Ball, you want to give us a quick introduction? Tell us once again the question is, right? President Trump's about to be sentenced after the election, right? As a third-party candidate and as an independent candidate, you have unique ability to speak on this situation. We're going to submit your response to the judge and the DA in the case and publish your response. Go ahead, Dennis. What you got to say about his sentencing coming up?
Well, thanks for having me. I'm just wondering, with regard to the moderating tonight, exactly what questions are being asked. I'm not sure I understand what you just asked me. Sorry, but I hope
the question once again. Okay, Dennis, are you with me? You ready?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, President Trump just got, before he was sentenced, I think, on 30 plus felonies, right? He was sentenced right during the election. All of a sudden, right? Yeah. Some of these charges are like super old, 20, 30 years old, right? But all of a sudden, just before the election, right, they all of a sudden, they almost put him in jail, but they actually delayed the sentencing till after the election. Before he gets, the sentencing is applied, I'm going to publish what the candidates say about it, right? Who the other U.S. presidential candidates running for office. I'm going to publish it and send it to the DA and the judge. You want to say something about this, Dennis? What's your comment about this situation, about Donald Trump's sentencing?
Well, I was on the show with Hannity when all this happened with the Stormy Daniels case, and I think that she's the one that should be on trial. I mean, I'm a scholar, and I looked at the facts. I think he was put in a position where, as far as the prosecution is concerned, they, I think, stretched everything for whatever political process they wanted to accrue, and he fell into it. So I think it'll be on appeal, and there'll be a lot of stuff go back and forth. And do I approve of what happened there? No, but I think there's a lot of gamesmanship going on in all of this. To me, politics is a blood sport now. I can see that just in my own experience.
Yeah. Can you actually share your website with the audience? Because I know you weren't able to jump in earlier, but I know you're running for president, and you have your own party, actually, right? Go ahead, put that out there.
Right. The American Party of America, the American National Committee, is at the AOA-ANC.org. We believe that if you're not fighting for your family, who are you living and working for? And you cannot make a living on minimum wage to support it. So consequentially, the AOA-ANC is designed to change all that and provide the support regarding issues and policies, from taxes to healthcare.
So Dennis Andrew Ball actually is a published author on Amazon, lots and lots of books out. He's got a whole entire economic plan. He's actually has conservative family values. I have an interview with him, and we will be covering through more of his issues tonight. But I'm going to cut to our first moderator right here. Oh, Andy Williams Jr. is here. Okay, so all right, Andy. Andy, I'm going to ask you a quick question before I pass on to Wolfgang, actually a moderator for tonight, to ask the next question. But Andy, just so you know, President Trump is about to be sentenced for felonies, and I'm going. Oh, Andy left. Okay, bye, Andy. All right, so I guess we're just going to head on to Wolfgang. It's your question. You're up, bro. Go ahead.
Well, the fundamental question is, what actions will you take to best defend the Constitution of the United States of America and individual liberties in the face of corruption, undue special interest influence, and creeping totalitarianism.
Is there do you want me to talk about this, or is there a direction?
It's directed to all the candidates.
Okay, well, I'll address it. So I'm already doing that. I discovered that there's a lot of fraud and manipulation in the registering to vote list, and that they've been voting for other people under this list. And then they also take those same votes and the ballots and they put them into machines, which then also alters that vote. So we think we're voting when we go to vote currently, but our votes are really not being counted. They're being manipulated behind the scenes for either the Democrats or the Republicans or whoever they want in that moment to be in that position, whatever the position is, whether it's president or governor or whatever. And the people behind it are really the Christian nationals, the true Zionists who are really out to, who are pro what's going on in Gaza and all over the world, attacking anyone who is not Christian. And we've been taken over by this group. They're in both the Democrats and the Republicans, and they're working together to keep our country, or to create our country into this Christian national crusading nation, which we have sadly become. So, as soon as we can have a real vote without this system that we have called registering to vote, we will already be on our way. But I had a whole bunch of other plans in my platform, and then I discovered all the fraud. Everybody I talked to had stories, and I said, this is where we have to start. So you have to start by suing, and that's why I have this lawsuit still with the Supreme Court. I have the FBI working on some issues, and the CIA, because we have Americans, so we have US citizens living all over the world voting from abroad, and their votes are not being counted. And we have people walking in the door and voting and early voting all over in multiple states. And then when the real person goes in to vote, their vote doesn't get counted. So if we cannot have a clean election, we cannot have a clean country. So it starts there. But the 14th Amendment clearly states that the states don't have as many rights as the states seem to think that they do. And a lot of our amendments deal with states overstepping their boundaries. So the federal government is here to protect the people and to protect our rights as a country and as people. So I'm already working on it.
So I guess I'll give my answer. If nobody else is going to, I totally agree with the premise of the question. Benjamin Franklin said, "We're giving you a republic if you can keep it." And I think, as Susan rightly points out, that starts with the well-functioning of our democratic processes. But the biggest threats, constitutional threats I see to our liberties at this point, lie in probably amendment number 4 in the Bill of Rights, illegal search and seizure, the access that the government and private entities have to our personal data, our conversations, our books and records are under grave threat. Also, our First Amendment right to free speech and religion under grave threat. I think most of the candidates on here, if they've spent any time on Facebook or Twitter or other social media platforms, will agree with that. I think we need a comprehensive overhaul of our nation's privacy laws that constrain not only the government, but also the for-profit, private, and other actors that have unprecedented, sweeping, unregulated access to all of our private information. It's getting really scary out there, quite frankly.
I happen to agree with both of you on most of that. The only thing I would say is different is back in 2010, and I call it the biggest act of treason committed against the American people, was passed by the Supreme Court called Citizens United, where corporations are allowed to buy politicians And that's something we need to fight to overturn, because they who pay control the politician. And as long as those two big parties are being controlled by that, we're never going to win anything. These people are dragging to the left and to the right, and our goal is to move people forward. Just saying.
All right, so I'll hop in. So this is a constitutional question. So the 14th Amendment says that no state shall deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. So what does that mean? If we have equal protection of the laws, why do we have different ballots? If we have equal protection of the laws, why do we have different ways that police operate? Why do we have different ballot hours? There's a lot of things that we could go into about the tweaks we need to make to the system. However, the system itself just needs a refresh. It needs a way to actually be an ideal rather than us going and trying to nitpick one thing at a time. There's always going to be something new. So what I've done in this presidential election cycle is written something called the Declaration of American Human Governance. It's the founding document of Human First America, which is the body that is operating a way to voice your opinion in 2024. This document essentially states that the American government must respect Americans as human first before any rules, corporations, or so-called artificial intelligence. It declares American human governance over our American government, so we can stop talking about the corporations and or AI taking over our ways of being. And it adds a fourth branch of government based on popular vote. So that popular vote will gradually feed into the government, and the Congress will then write those decisions that the people make into law. The first vote is the President of America for 2024. You can go to bit.ly.com/DAHG to find out more. With this, we take the action to ensure the accurate reflection of the people's will in American government for generations to come.
All right, Wolfgang, just so you know, you can choose the people, you can ask for more clarification, but try to keep it moving. I'm gonna have Dennis go next, but Wolfgang, if you want to, really, you get to moderate this whole question, and if you want to ask for clarification, you can. This is your section, all right, Wolfgang, you got this.
Yeah, I'm just basically asking the questions and giving the candidates a good chance to elaborate on their positions.
Whatever you want, yeah, but okay. So Dennis, I think, still hasn't spoken yet, so I'm just going to keep it moving. Go ahead, guys.
Okay, DJ, could you please tell me what questions you're wanting a response?
Wolfgang's question. Go ahead, Wolfgang. Tell him the question again.
Yeah, what actions will you specifically take to safeguard and preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States and safeguard individual liberties in the face of undue special interest, influence, corruption, and creeping totalitarianism? That's basically the question.
Okay. Well, let me say this. I have been to Washington, D.C. It is a cesspool of special interests. And if you go down K Street, you'll meet up with people who basically have caused irreparable harm to the American people. This has been caused because the political system in Washington, the federal government, has found a way to profit from the jobs that they had as elected officials. And then once they have finished their term, they basically have learned the system to profit again from after they leave office and go over to K Street, where they become an employee of the special interest groups. Judicial Watch is a group that does FOIA, and it's more of a watchdog FOIA requests regarding many abusive behaviors. As President of the United States, let me say this. The big problem I see is lack of transparency on the part of the executive branch of government, and proceeding to put all the issues on the table. I have written 66 titles on Amazon.com. These titles focus on each issue that has been neglected and ignored, including the problem of getting on the ballot in this country. The ballot has been used again as a political football to keep people out. That has to change if we're going to see any real progress in this nation. People have got to get on the ballot. And in order to do that, they have to be challenged in court because there is a monopoly that they have created. That is the duopoly of Republicans and Democrats to keep family-oriented people at bay so that they can go ahead and profit from us at our expense and use, abuse, and misuse the political system to do that. And so my attitude is we have to get down and dirty into the legal system. I am a court official proceeding and pursuing a case that I personally have been engaged in since 2005 that has to do with my own family.
Okay, wait a second.
And
Wait a second. Yeah. I'm sorry,
deal with
Dennis. Yeah, just so you know, before you go into your own personal case, though, I just want to, just so you know, if everybody here speaks for 10 minutes tonight, then we'll go for an hour and a half. So I just want to make sure that everybody just answers the question. We move on. So now we're going to move on to Stevenson. Please try to keep everybody about to 2 minutes, right? And Stevenson, if someone's waving their hand, choose them first. Some people might be thinking about their answer, and try to keep it cracking, keep it going, right? It would be nice if we could all get at least 2 or 3 questions in tonight. You know what I mean? Stevenson, you up, guy? You got this. You're moderating, right? So you ask for clarification, and if they're not answering the question, or move them along if they repeating themselves. All right? Stevenson, you got it? You ready? After that, move.
Yeah, my first question, because I'm on the younger side, and for my generation, the biggest issue is about the economy. And I want to ask, what are you going to do? What are the candidates here going to do to fight the national deficit? Are you going to get past a balanced budget amendment? What else are you going to do to fight the national debt? We are getting another $1 trillion every 180 days added to our debt. These are the most important. Anyone want to go first?
Well, I'd love to tackle that first. I agree with you completely. We are at the same 125% of GDP national debt levels that we were at in 1945 as World War II was winding down. What they did back then was they drastically raised taxes on the wealthy to over 90% for the highest income bracket. And they also slashed spending by 80%. Now, of course, there was a war drawing down, and so that was we were able to cut spending by that much. As president, I would cut spending by 30%. I think that is heavily doable. I lived in Washington, D.C. I saw the waste, the fraud, the abuse, the money just pissed away, including in the deserts of Afghanistan and Iraq. We can tighten our belts, and the federal government can spend 30% less. I also agree that we should go back to a tax model for the wealthiest among us at post-World War II levels. Our economy thrived in the 20 years after World War II, despite the wealthy paying very high taxes. I think we also need to call in old debts. There's a lot of World War II lend-lease debt to countries like the Soviet Union, Russia, China, that went unpaid. And those economies, certainly China's, is thriving now. And I think there's no good reason for us to not revisit that and use that as leverage in the international community to bring down our national debt. We shouldn't have more than 5 or 10 trillion in national debt. And even that is a lot.
Okay. Anyone else?
I believe that we need to first off put an end to these endless wars that are costing us billions and billions of dollars. First off, second of all, once we come up with a plan that creates a civilized, decent agreement over there, our allies such as Ukraine, who we've been pouring billions of dollars into, we need as a part of that treaty to start paying back the loan that we gave them. We also need to stop taxing, stop the loopholes that the rich have. Because currently, right now, if any of us who are in the middle class were to avoid paying taxes, the IRS would be at our door threatening to do whatever to us, throw us in prison, seize our assets, garnish our wages, However, the multi-billionaires who find these loopholes, they don't pay taxes and not a single consequence for that action. And that would be something as president that I would make change to.
Dennis, you have your hand up. Do you want to answer? Oh, you just brought it down. Okay.
Yes, I wanted to tell you that I have written a book about this subject matter called The Fair Deal and the Ball Act. President Kennedy in 1963, approximately 8 months before he died, signed the Executive Order 11110, transferring the currency out of the Federal Reserve to the Treasury. He did this by creating $2 and $5 bills backed by silver. They called those silver certificates. That was designed to take the Federal Reserve out of the money supply and put it where it rightfully belongs in the Treasury. As a result, the political football of the K Street lobbyists and every Tom, Dick, and Harry, congressman and senator, have used that football to embellish and engross their communities with different projects at the taxpayers' expense. Now we have a situation, as Mr. Stevenson rightfully says, that every 90 days there's $1.5 trillion spent by the federal government. There is no leash on spending in this government. This is a cancer that eventually will destroy our nation financially. You cannot keep printing money without accountability. My suggestion is, as president, I will create what is called the Ball Act. I will cancel the national debt based on President Kennedy's executive order, which, by the way, has not been canceled, repealed, or destroyed. It has been ignored by every president since him. He wanted the currency back in the Treasury. The Federal Reserve has taken advantage of the people. We know that the Federal Reserve, the Bank of Settlements in London, England, and the Vatican Bank. We also know that the Federal Reserve is connected to the World Bank. All of these different financial bankers have put us on tilt as a nation. The founders certainly didn't want it this way. And instead of our income taxes being collected by the IRS, the government worked on tariffs. That's how they funded themselves. This would have effect of two things. One, with tariffs, you would have a reduction in the amount of income coming into the federal government, which would downsize the size of government so that the American people on a fair tax would have about a 24% increase in their income. And they wouldn't be squeezed as they are now by all the expense and inflation that we all are encountering because of the negligent behavior of our own government. That's my opinion, and I think that has merit. And if you get my book, The Fair Deal, Canceling the National Debt and Restoring Fiscal Accountability, I think you'll discover that a lot of my suggestions have merit. And from there, I intend to continue on this track to get on the ballot in the next election and proceed accordingly. Thank you.
Muti, is it okay if you mute your mic real quick? If that's okay. And we're going to go Clinton, then Davi, in the order they raised their hand. No. Clinton.
Okay, so for me, we need to stop. We need to stop funding wars and sending money abroad. We need to spend the money here on the infrastructure. We need to create apprenticeships both for high school students and also college students who maybe decided maybe college isn't really for me. And I want to actually go into an apprenticeship and get people working, get them trained at a skill, whether it's in construction or whether it's being a baker or whether it's being a butcher or a cook or a lawyer or a nurse, but get people trained and get them trained quickly and move more locally. we've tried this global economy, and it's just sucked money out of our country and out of each and every one of our pockets in taxes. So the other thing that I want to do is I want to move money from war, which is where it is now, to love, and create uh, a women's organization called probably Women's League, and really start making motherhood a career choice. It's the one place where we have fully, a lot of women jobs have been overlooked or underpaid, and it's time to stop that. So we need to pay mothers to come home, because that's a big problem with our culture right now, is we got everybody working, there are no parents around, and we got kids growing up with kids and no adults supervision. And it's broken the family up entirely. So we have to rebuild our culture, rebuild our families, and that starts with mothers coming home and being a professional mother that comes with training and benefits for 20 years. There's plenty of time too for women later in life to have careers. So pushing women into careers has just pushed babies into daycare. And children don't get as much love in daycare as they do at home. And it's crucial for a growing child to feel loved and appreciated and special. And so we need to, like I said, we need to recreate the home. So give mothers a reasonable salary, not what they're getting now on welfare, but a living salary, so they don't go into poverty, and make it a career choice, and give them the tools that are necessary to raise the next generation, or the generations too after that. But then also give that generation apprenticeships, give them a way out of poverty, give them skills, give them responsibility at an early age. Because the other part too is we're sending everybody to college and university. So a lot of these kids don't even start working until they're 25 or 30. And then they're like, oh, I don't like working. So, we've done a disservice to our children and our young people. And this is not new. This has been going on since the 90s. So this is a good 40 years that we're, 30, 40 years that we've been going through this, and it's got to stop. The other part of my plan is to make anyone who earns $100,000 or less does not pay any federal tax, none. If you want to donate, you can, but you don't have to. And then the other part of that is anyone who has $100,000 or more or less in savings, they also don't have to pay any tax. But as soon as you go above that 100,000 on income and on savings, then there will be a tax. So the normal tax program that we have, we can stick with, or I would suggest getting rid of a lot of the loopholes and the special vouchers and whatever. But I would like to put a 1% tax on all money in savings that people have in savings or in stocks, just a wealth tax of 1%. Because a lot of wealthy people, they don't have to earn a salary. So they're not earning a salary, so they're not paying any taxes currently. And this is not fair. They're sitting on money that they could be spending and putting into the economy, but they're not. So they need to pay every year 1% on that money that's just sitting around doing nothing. And out of that 1%, I want a quarter of it to go to Social Security, because we do need to keep Social Security going for people in later times. And maybe down the road, we might come up with a new plan for Social Security, but it's not the time to throw it out the window at the moment. A balanced budget is absolutely important, but I will not go without our national parks and other things that get always cut first. So we really have to look at a better way of balancing the budget for sure. So this is just a general economy plan. We got to shop local, USA first, and citizens first is my goal.
Okay, and Davi.
I just want to clarify, is your question about the national debt, or is the question about the American economy?
My question is about the national debt, about how it's increased, and if you're in favor of a balanced budget amendment, or if not, what will you do to remedy the national debt?
Okay, so my plan actually creates an opt-out of capitalism. My focus is the American people. It is not the details of why we have XY number of $1 trillion owed to different nations. that actually needs to be investigated. And I think that we, as presidential candidates, should really think about why we are just accepting that this debt exists and not understanding what the details of that debt are. But back to my original purpose, my focus is the American people. So the American people's economy is what I'm concerned about. And that economy needs the most support at this current time, considering the opioid epidemic, considering the homelessness situation, considering that we have an entire voting system that is not reflective of the people. So like I mentioned before, Earth Order is a system where everybody is paid seasonally. You are given, when you sign up for Earth Order, you're given healthcare cost coverage and the option to opt out of capitalism. That means we're giving you the option to have no student loans, no debts, immediate financial relief, and congratulations for your endurance in this oppressive and inadequate capitalistic system. So what we do is create a new voluntary middle class whose incentive is no longer just making money in a pointless way, but rather the incentive is to increase life quality, allowing you to do it in your own way because you're choosing whether you're contributing to a business that you are building or you're contributing to a business that you've created. We have to create a government that contributes to the people, pays the salaries of the people, grants money to the people for their new businesses, and the businesses contribute back to the government, contributing a percentage of their profits to the government while promising and maintaining a healthy workspace and life quality for the people. With that, we create a wonderful game called American Human Living, where people are excited and passionate about life.
Okay, to the next moderator. I'll let anyone else had a finally one say. Okay, I think it's back to you, DJ.
Yeah, next up is going to be Muti, and just
Yes, sir.
Muti,
Can you
actually,
hear me?
before you jump in, just I'd like to actually submit because the thing is that Trump actually is facing his sentencing after the election, and as someone who's faced wrongful incarceration, I know he was found guilty. It might not be completely wrongful incarceration, but there is some question about political manipulations. I'll be submitting to the DA and the judge. So say something about that, introduce yourself, and then you can ask your question, and then just go through all the candidates. Go ahead, you got this, Muti.
First of all, I'd like to congratulate all of the candidates. You're very knowledgeable about matters of government and presidential politics. I want to try to shift and go another way and try to, if I can, without being simple, but simplistic in our answers. Let's make our answers a little bit more crisp. I like to focus on the law. The state of Missouri just recently murdered an innocent man. And I say murdered because it wasn't an execution. The state will call it an execution, but DNA said that the man was in fact innocent. So anytime you kill an innocent person, that's murder. And when you plot and plan to kill a person for over a period of time, that is premeditated murder. And neither of the presidential candidates said a word. I would like to hear something from each one of you as it relates to that set of circumstances and what that entails for the American court system from the Supreme Court on down. Any takers?
Sure. I'd be happy to answer that. I agree with the premise of your question completely. I think the culmination of evidence has gotten to the point where capital punishment in any state in this country is clearly unconstitutional. I think there are enough flaws in our corrupt criminal justice system to relegate that barbaric practice to the dustbin of history. I think there are many other reforms that need to happen with our criminal justice system. I think the founding fathers are looking down and saying, how did our citizens get so weak? how did we let ourselves be conquered and enslaved to where this country is heads and shoulders above every other country in terms of incarceration rates, including China, including Russia and other places where supposedly it's worse. I think we need to revisit from very fundamental place what place our criminal justice system really has and what function they should really be serving. I've seen so many people, friends and family and others, be incarcerated for largely victimless crimes. And I could go on for a while, but I'll leave it at that.
Well, let me engage you, Alan.
Sure.
I want to draw from all of the candidates something specific, not generalities, not, being a policy wonk and going on and on, droning about policy. Neither one of the candidates said a word. If you elected the president of the United States tomorrow, any of you, each of you, what will you do about that? And more importantly, what has been your position prior to such an injustice?
Well, I'll answer that first. I would immediately issue an executive order putting an indefinite moratorium on all state-sponsored executions in this country. We'd have to look and see how that would do in the courts. I think it might hold. The Supreme Court has become more of a political entity than a legal entity these days, it would seem to me. But that's what I would try.
I find that to be a contradiction because you, as well as another candidate, referred to Donald Trump's prosecution as lawfare. That's a contradiction because when poor people in this country are prosecuted, it's just called prosecution and they're referred to as defendant. And now simply because he's wealthy, the prosecution of a wealthy man, you refer to as lawfare. That's a contradiction.
That's a very interesting and a valid point that you make, actually. I do not think that people in power should be above the law, but it's not a contradiction because I think that everybody should be under the law, but the law should not be misused. In the case of victimless crimes, in the case of Donald Trump, what I saw was probably more a matter of maybe civil litigation rather than criminal. But certainly I would hope that you'd agree with me on the moratorium on executions. I think we agree there. So that's my position there.
Let's keep it moving. Who's next? Y'all afraid? Susan, go ahead, Susan.
I guess I'll do it. So, I like, I've been trying to figure out how to go about this, and I guess an executive order would be the best way to stop all executions, all people on death row from being killed. And my thing is, when I was younger, I did agree with the death penalty. I thought it was a good idea because there were violent criminals, but it turns out that a lot of people on death row are actually innocent or got there for other reasons, and some of their crimes are just not in that category anyway. So I think we've got a criminal justice system that is broken, and that we need to stop everything and we need to refocus. I mean, part of my platform is to let adults be adults again. So we need to make drugs legal. One of the things that I noticed too is that nowadays some of the drugs are so powerful that they paralyze you. There's marijuana out there that if you smoke it, you become paralyzed for like 5 hours. There were some guys who got killed who, accidentally died because they smoked it outside in freezing weather last year. And, they couldn't move. And so they froze to death ultimately because they were paralyzed from this drug. So we got to get drugs legal. We got to take them off the street and put them into a proper distribution center, make sure they're clean, because we got people dying from fentanyl and other things. So as soon as we do that, then we release all the people who were in prison because of drug-related charges, and we get them into apprenticeships and we give them skills so that they can start their lives. And I met a man recently who was on death row for a time, during the time when I was approving of this back in the 90s. And he eventually got himself I'm not sure what all happened. He was wrongfully incarcerated first off, and then somehow he ended up on death row. But the point is that while he was in prison, he learned the law and how to do lawsuits, and he freed over 600 people who were wrongfully incarcerated in New Jersey. So, I mean, it's hats off to him too that he did that. But if that's just in one state, what is it like in California? What is it like in New York, Florida, Texas? I mean, and Chicago, Illinois, everywhere. So we got to get a hold of our criminal justice system. It's completely broken, and we gotta free the innocent people. It's crazy. There are so many. I had no idea. So I am completely against the death penalty now, and we need to stop it. We need to work on our justice system.
Okay,
But
Susan.
it starts with
Thank you.
voting in elected people who will do the job. We got a lot of criminals in government right now working in white
Thank you
collar
for your answer,
positions,
Susan.
and this
Thank
is
you
the
for your
problem.
answer. Thank you for your answer. Was a bit wordy. Let us try to make these answers shorter, crisp, more precise, and let us answer the question asked as opposed to going off on a tangent. John, you first, and then Blake is second, and then Davi third. Again, let me reiterate. The state of Missouri murdered a man that DNA says was innocent. Neither of the presidential candidates, Donald J. Trump and Kamala Harris, the sitting vice president, one who's a prosecutor, the other is a convicted felon, said a word about this. What do you say about them? And what would you do if elected president?
Well, first and foremost, my heart goes out to that individual and their family. The fact that they have not mentioned anything, I think, is wrong. And as president, I have a two-part plan on that, actually, which I'm going to bring up half the plan. So legalizing marijuana on the federal level and using half the tax for mental health. One of the biggest issues we have when it comes to people who are being engaged as criminals or whatever you want to call them, the police have zero training on how to handle somebody who is going through an episode or any kind of thing that's not as deemed normal, for the lack of better words. Shoot first and ask questions later needs to be completely illegal unless they have no other choice. We need to get training so that people can come in, talk these people down, let them know that we're here to help and try to get them the help that they need. Once, incarcerated or through treatment or whatever, once they're done with that, help get them the education they need through trade or whatnot to get them back into society to function better.
Thank you, John. Blake, are you with us? You still with us, Blake? Okay, Davi, you're up. Let me try to make it a lot more crisper, the question much sharper.
Please.
Across America, there has been, over the last 15 to 20 years, there has been an explosion in exonerations. That is, people who were put in prison for crimes that they did not commit.
Trying to unmute myself. Yes, I'm here.
Was exonerated for crimes that they did not commit.
So
an explosion. Now we have a man, the state of Missouri, murdered, who DNA said he was actually innocent. Neither candidate said a word. One is a convicted felon. The other is a prosecutor with a notorious record for breaking the law to get convictions. What do you say about each of those candidates? And what would you do about the exonerations across the nation? And what would you do if president?
So first off, we need a full, number one, thank you for your question. Thank you for your resilience. And we have to do an entire assessment of our criminal justice system wholly. With that comes apologies from the national perspective of all people who have been either wrongly incarcerated or wrongly killed. Then we can start the work of healing. My plan make sure that, number one, we have
I do
rehabilitation
understand the
centers and not
question, and
prisons,
thank you.
because prisons,
Oh,
excuse
I'm
me.
sorry. I thought that I was up next.
Okay, but can you, thank you.
I'm sorry. Is it
Okay.
Debbie or is it Blake?
No, Blake, Darby's answering the question now. You'll get your turn. Continue,
Okay.
Darby.
Yeah. So right now, our prison industrial complex is an industrial complex. It's just another corporate machine that is made to criminalize certain groups who tend to have more melanin in their skin and turn them into profit banks, where they essentially milk money off of them and the government for housing them. So we need to change that entire process into rehabilitation centers, where those who have, and maybe they have committed a crime, right? The DNA evidence does prove that they committed the crime. Okay, cool. They need to be retrained about how to live in a society in a productive way. This is a reflection of the fact that our general society does not teach us how to be healthy citizens. It just expects us to be. And so what we do is, when we have issues, we provide people a way to nudge back into a way for a healthy way of integrating with our nation and in our economy.
Thank you, Darby. Blake, you're up. Blake, you're up. Moving right along. Staying with the theme of the law. The United States Constitution says that the judges on the United States Supreme Court are just that, judges. What does it say about the judges on the United States Supreme Court who ignore that edict from the United States Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land, and refer to themselves as justices? Any questions? Any answers?
Are you saying that the idea of justice is higher than?
Can you hear me? Can
No.
you hear me?
Let me ask the question.
Can you hear me?
Question.
Okay.
The question is, the United States Constitution,
yes,
which
we can.
is the supreme
Can you hear me?
law of the land, says that the judges on the United States Supreme Court are judges. However, those judges have proceeded to ignore that edict from the Constitution, the supreme law of the land, and refer to themselves as justices, not judges.
Okay.
What does that say about the Supreme Court, and what does that say about the law in America?
So,
can you hear me?
Do you want to go, Blake? Because we can hear you.
I don't know. Did you call on me? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can go. You can go. You can go.
Can we see you?
I would like to answer the question.
Okay, Dennis, you're up.
Okay. Dr. Martin Luther King said, justice delayed is justice denied. So the issue of justice is integral with regard to massive incarcerations and capital punishment. Do you agree?
Well, we would say, and knowing the circumstances across the country, couple of the candidates who answered, they tried to make it an issue of capital punishment, when in fact, most of the individuals who have been innocent and those who have got exonerated, others have died in prison, which is the completion of imposition of death by imprisonment, but actually being innocent. So in a broader sense, you have thousands of individuals who are actually innocent dying in prison as a result of being put in prison, who are innocent. And then when they seek to gain monetary compensation for being illegally imprisoned, the United States Supreme Court has said that certain entities within the law who are responsible for imprisoning the innocent are absolved from that act of unlawfulness.
My position is that almost a biblical type of approach that individuals who are guilty need to experience what the system has created. For those who are not guilty, they should not. So therefore, it would require the system to be accountable to all of us, to the people. And therein lies the issue. Now, some people would say, well, we need a blue ribbon panel to study the issue and then come up with their recommendations as to what to do about it. Do you agree with that?
That's going closer to what we need. But my direct question to you would be, what is your comment or your insights into the fact that both candidates haven't said a word about that?
Well, I have a question for you. Have they been asked about that? Because like I'm here tonight and you're asking all of us these questions and others too, the moderators. I don't know if those questions have been asked of them.
Well,
Remember, they're both running for president also.
That's a very good question. And whether or not, I'm not sure. However, anytime in a quote unquote democracy, one that's structured on law and order and issues of the president having the power to place judges on the federal bench, that is from the United States Supreme Court on down, and working in concert with senators who vet these individuals, I think a matter of that magnitude where the whole world was watching would have something to say about that without being asked. They can talk about many, many things that they were never asked about, unsolicited, but you murder an actually innocent man and you don't talk about it. Somebody have to ask you that question and you don't volunteer. They volunteer to speak about everything under the sun except for matters that concern the average Jane and John Q public. So let's assume that no one asked them that question. So I'm asking you, as the president, if elected president, A, what is your comment, Mr. President, about those two candidates not saying anything about that and wanting to occupy the highest political office in the country? And what would you do to remedy that widespread circumstance across the country? Because that's merely an example of what's been going on for the last 30 years.
My position is that I think we need to have the people engaged in communication like a kitchen cabinet, okay? If I were president, I would want you on my kitchen cabinet to raise these issues so that they could be studied and acted upon. Remember, we're talking about people's lives here. Everybody who has been in the system and the criminal justice system has a life that has been, I would say, very stressed, okay? Therefore, it would be incumbent upon those who have studied the issue to participate in it, to help find a way to get justice, mercy, in some cases, forgiveness of whatever they have been charged with. I think that that's the human way to go about this, the proper way.
I appreciate that.
And
Can I just jump in for a second? Sorry about that, Dennis. Yeah. All right, so check it out, folks. We've reached about 8:30, and just so you know, I'm at this point. This is when we're opening the something called the open town hall. This has been the debate. Every moderator has asked a question. We're going to finish this up, right? I don't think that everybody's had a chance to answer this question yet, and I'm going to let Muti finish this question up. But after this, right, we're going to have our open town hall, so anybody who's watching can ask questions in the chat, and then we're going to give all the candidates a chance to answer those questions as well, and then we're going to spend the last half of the program on audience questions. So I'll let this one finish up. Muti, once again, you're moderating this one, so you can ask for clarification. You can choose people to speak. Try not to get people to go twice. But you can ask for clarification. All right, go ahead. You got this, Muti. All right. Well, sorry. Thank you. All right, that's it, folks.
We'll stay on the topic of the court and the topic of law in a country that's supposed to be governed by laws. The United States Supreme Court, if some of the candidates have pointed out that in America we have a duopoly, that is the notion that there are only two parties and anything or anybody else doesn't matter. And in fact, your candidacies, all of your candidacies lay that to be a lie. Now, the duopoly is responsible for packing the court. As it stands now, they would refer to the court as right-leaning, not necessarily left, but right-leaning. And so that court was packed by the duopoly. If elected president, what would you do to change the direction in which the court is headed if allowed to appoint another judge, which they refer to themselves as justices? The Constitution calls them judges, but they call themselves justices. What would you do to change the trajectory of the court by appointing individuals who are not leaning in the manner in which the duopoly would like them? Because whether they're leaning right or left, that's a part of the duopoly. Any takers? Susan.
So, as I stated before, the problem is we have illegal people in office currently because of past elections being manipulated for this person to win or that person to win. So we already have illegal people running our country, and then they appoint people that got them there, probably. So we have a huge problem. What to do? I have to admit, I'm working with the Supreme Court right now, and I am getting through, I think. You have to go to them logically. Of course, not all of the justices are on the up and up, I will say. There are certain ones that are not following the Constitution correctly, but maybe we have to hold them to their oaths, and maybe we should have them every year say their oath in front of the public so that we know that they know what they're supposed to do and we know what they're supposed to do, and then everybody's happy, right? But the problem is that along with a lot of things, everybody complains about the federal government being too big. We're too big, but truthfully, I find it's the states that are too big, but that's me personally. I seem to be the only one saying that. But the fact of corporal punishment and stuff like that, that has been sent down to the state level. But on the other hand, it is possible that a president could make an executive order. But this is an election year, and you keep asking, why did these two presidential candidates not say anything? And it's because it's an election year. They don't want to lose those votes. They know who their voters are, and they're in the corrupt business. So they're not gonna say anything about this poor man who just died, who lost his life, who was murdered. They're not going to say anything against that because those are the people voting for them. So my thing is, don't vote Republican or Democrat, period. Don't vote them. Vote write-in candidate. Vote anything else. I would also say, Green Party, it depends on the person. Libertarian, it depends on the person. But vote write-in candidate wherever possible. And I mean, I'm waiting. The Supreme Court has my lawsuit. They need to vote on it so we can have a real election that is not corrupt, that is transparent, so that we can have real people with integrity in office. This is the biggest problem we have. We cannot have a clean system until we get people who have integrity and character in office, and then we can hope to reform our country. But I agree with you. They should have said something. On the other hand, it's a state's issue, and they didn't. It's an election year, so they're not going to do anything. They're not going to say anything.
So them taking a woman's right to control her body, you think that's a state's issue?
I think that that's covered actually in the 14th Amendment. It clearly states in the 14th Amendment that states do not have the right to infringe on citizens' rights. And one of our rights is our body, right? So a woman can do whatever she wants. Banning books or banning abortion is actually unconstitutional. And for whatever reason, no lawyer is suing. No woman is suing. And this is ridiculous for me. Nobody in Texas is suing Abbott. He is the worst governor ever. And he needs to be sued because a woman absolutely, according to the 14th Amendment and other parts of the Constitution, clearly has a right to do whatever she wants with her body. And if that creature that's inside is taken out and cannot survive outside of her body, then obviously it needed to be attached, right? So it was part of her. If it can survive, then it can survive. But apparently the bigger problem is with the abortions are now apparently women are going full term and aborting, and the baby's body parts are being used for transplants. So what we need to do is stop transplanting. It's not fair to kill somebody and then use their body parts to keep somebody else alive, especially if it's like an older person who needs a liver because they drank too much vodka their whole life.
Right,
They shouldn't kill.
So I just wanted to
They
see.
shouldn't kill
I just want to give
somebody.
Muti a chance with each candidate, right? I know Davi wants to go again. Davi, is there any other
We got
candidate
big
that you want to
problems.
speak to? And then I'm going to actually go to the town hall. But Muti, yeah, you have any other questions for any of the candidates?
John was next. If John still wants to go, then we'll go to Davi.
Okay. So basically, I personally feel that the Supreme Court itself is corrupt in a lot of ways due to the fact of Citizens United being, a thing. I think that we definitely need to hold these justices, judges accountable. And if I'm president and the opportunity comes, I would put somebody in who upholds, what our nation believes and not left or right. That's basically the way I would handle that. I obviously am going to go to them if I'm elected and push for Citizens United to be overturned. But I do feel that they are pretty, they are corrupt. They do need to be completely redone if possible.
You said you would move to have Citizens United overturned. Well, what about the decision that overturned a woman's right to control her body?
I would fight to overturn, to bring that back, I should say, because I can't really overturn what's overturned, but bring it back, I should say. I support, in America, I believe that whether I agree with an abortion or not, whether you agree with an abortion or not, I believe that as an American, a woman has the right to make that decision without need of approval from anybody, if that makes sense.
Including a man.
Excluding who, I'm sorry?
Including a man.
And to me, it doesn't matter. If every American, in my opinion, has the right to decide their life their way, whether anybody agrees with them or not, it's their choice, their consequence. Whether that consequence is good or bad, that's that's their life. And I think that the government needs to not be involved in that. I think that we need to step back and just let people decide that aspect of their lives on their own.
Davi, last one is Davi. Go ahead, Davi.
So the question was about the Supreme Court justices. It is public record that one of the justices has publicly received millions of dollars. And so what we are dealing with is a inadequacy in our federal government in its structure, because there's no way to get rid of them, right? So the only way we can address it is, like I said before, adding a fourth branch of government that the people's vote is the determinator. Is the determination. We become the determinators. Let's call it that. We'll become the determinators. We're not going to sit around and allow our government to just do things that don't make any sense and put it in 60 Minutes and all these other shows, and we not be able to do anything about it. No, we have to create the space for our voice in the national government, or we are just complying with it. There is no tweak that we can just do that will fix all of these issues. We actually need to comprehensively, and I think a lot of the issue is sometimes people just don't have a better idea. And so they get caught in like, oh, we should do this tweak. Oh, we should do this tweak. But actually, the better idea is if the people are actually having a voice in government that is undeniable, that is unreckoned with. And so that's how we address the Supreme Court.
All right.
Thank you for your answer. And thank you all the candidates. You all gave thoughtful answers.
All right, I'm going to kick it around
Thank you.
to a round of the town hall. I did check the chat. I didn't see any questions, so I'm actually going to ask a question for myself. Hopefully, all the moderators will get a chance to ask one more question each. That would be cool of each candidate. So check it out, folks. This is my next question right here. So the thing is that right now we know that the world seems like it's at war. We see Russia, Ukraine, billions of dollars being poured into that. We see Israel, Palestine going on. We see Koreans being sent, North and South Koreans, over to the war front on nuclear tensions and all over the world, right? As someone right now, we know that the third parties are often considered to be a good place for anti-war people. And what is your vision for world peace and America's role in that? And I'm going to start, and Blake, I'm really glad that you're here. As a former Libertarian chair, your participation today is highly brings a lot of pizzazz to this particular thing. So go ahead, Blake, say what's up.
So I've had some trouble with bandwidth issues. Can you hear me?
I can. It's a little soft, but go ahead, do your thing.
Okay. So I'll get closer to the mic. I am virulently anti-war. I'm ex-military. I consider myself a patriot for peace. And in any conflict, Muti, I think your microphone is on and it's bleeding through a bit. In any conflict, any resolution to a conflict deals with just that, resolution. So we fight wars because somebody wants something. Well, I think we should bomb Ukraine. I think we should bomb Israel and Gaza with diplomats. Get people over there that can make deals, bring people together, have them gather around the table, feed them, find out what issues they want, and let's find a common ground and get it resolved.
Okay, what's your
I know
website,
that
by the way?
that may be an oversimplification, but it could work. We need to teach kids in school not to be bullies. We need to teach them how to resolve differences.
I really appreciate that. Yeah. Once again, the Libertarian Party is also a very good third party for peace right there. I'm going to have John Gibbs give an answer. Go ahead.
I actually agree with Blake quite a bit on a lot of that. We need to get over there. We need to talk peace and put an end to these wars. Aside from the fact that people are dying, it's also costing the country more money that could be going towards helping the families that are struggling in this country, as well as many other things that we need to fix in our country. We've got, countless people over these two countries that are dying every single day. And you have the Palestine and the pro-Israel. And my thing is, I'm pro, let's just put an end to it and make a peaceful resolution that satisfies everybody.
I really appreciate your words of peace on that. Yeah. Davi, what's your ideas here?
So we have a kind of like a war is an accident type of mentality. And I want to really challenge that. These wars are not accidents. We're not oopsie in getting into these situations. These are actual times and people that have been strategizing and struggling to make sure that these moments of war are occurring. That means that the intention of the people who are conducting the wars are being fulfilled. That's it. And we have to just begin to accept people as they are. If these leaders believe that war needs to happen, you need a different leader and you need a different type of conversation to guide the nation. This nation, the public opinion never has ever supported war, period. So that's what this campaign represents. And it also says to the government that from now on, it seems like the congressmen are getting confused and maybe even the presidents have been getting confused as to what the nation's will is. And so we're going to have a popular vote that will always be speaking the voice of the people, just in case somebody doesn't understand that over. Oh,
I got it. Yeah.
Say it again.
The fourth branch of government, correct?
Exactly.
Excellent.
So
yeah.
that the government is never
good,
confused again.
I appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
I'll move on to Susan. You got something to say about this?
Yeah, so I did some homework, and apparently, Palestine has a government. It's the U.S. who doesn't recognize it. So we're the problem. Apparently, Taiwan is part of China. We just don't come forward and say it. We don't, they've tried to become their own country, but we as a country do not recognize Taiwan as a separate entity. So we are again the problem. And sorry, the Ukraine is not in NATO. Why are we giving? And I've been against this from the beginning. Why are we giving any money to the Ukraine? What about Luxembourg? They are the richest country in the world, and they're giving probably up. I don't even want to think about how less they're giving to Ukraine, which is almost a neighbor. So, you know, when Europe decides to get involved and protect their own neighbors, they should. We have to stop being the police of the world. This is absolutely unreal
I
what's going
appreciate that.
on.
That's a good
And
answer.
it's
All right.
time we
Yeah,
stop
that's good.
this.
Okay, so let's move on to the next one. That's a good answer right there. Now, Blake, I know that you're always good to say again once again I do highly value, but I want to give everybody a chance to speak. Jorge Zavala, I believe, just jumped in. He's actually running for president. He's Jorge, are you there? Jorge maybe he's getting up his mic set up. I think that is all the presidential candidates except for yeah, John went. Okay, Alan had to go. And by the way, Andy Williams, he tried to get in earlier. He's on a plane right now. He did shout out his website, and that's in the chat right there. I will say it. Did he text me? Oh, he texted me his website. Okay, so I guess that's a good answer right there. Blake, I'll let you finish off, and then we're gonna go to the next. I think Wolfgang's up next for his next question. So, do you have something to say right quick, Blake, to finish off?
Yeah, just a quick comment. We talk about third parties or minor parties. We're falling into the duopoly mindset. We need to reconsider that concept and talk about us being the alternative parties, or alternative candidates, because we're not minor in any way. Our ideas are not minor, and our thought processes are not third party. They're moderate and they're mostly middle ground. That's all I had to say.
And that's a good reminder. Thank you so much. All right, so let's move on to actually Wolfgang. Did you have another question for the panel here?
Yes. Some call it the Green New Deal. Others call it the Green New Steel. The current administration is pushing expensive EV mandates and offshore wind power, while they ignore innovative technological solutions such as inline hydrokinetics. The question is, how will you best implement a truly sustainable energy and environmental policy? And, you know, anyone who wants to answer that and go around and circle.
So I'll hop on that first. So we have had the keys to free energy for a very long time. So I really want us to remember that when we're thinking about what our government knows, right? So the patents that Nikola Tesla created are sitting in the patent office, and our government is playing a central role in making sure that we are living off of a very antiquated power grid, that we're living in a very antiquated system of creating sewer systems, of purifying our waters, and not maintaining our wild forestry. So we have to my policy creates a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual aspect of the leadership. And the physical is going to be rehabilitating and developing schools, bridges, roads, railroads, sewer systems, and public transit, purifying the waters, expanding wild forestry, and healing the land so that we can protect our native animals. And then we can have a nation that is thriving because we have good oxygen, because
Davi, you cut out, by the way,
Oh, can you hear me now?
for a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Just to I'll go back a little bit. So my campaign creates 4 areas of leadership into the leadership of Earth Order America. And the first is physical second is mental, third is emotional, and fourth is spiritual. So the physical rehabilitates our schools, bridges, land, water, and purifies our rivers and our nearby ocean ways, so that we actually are creating a environment that is healthy. And then once we're in that environment, there will be an ecosystem created between us as the humans who need a healthy environment, right? I think we kind of missed that part. We can just kind of keep usurping energy from oil or the land or the animals or everything, instead of understanding that there needs to be a give and take, and we have to be involved at a systematic level about what that give and take looks like.
That's good. We just follow the screen order. I think it would be easier for the next candidate to answer the question. Thank you.
Well, we each have our hands raised, but I think we haven't heard from Jorge yet. So
Okay.
I think Jorge should go next.
Okay, is he there? Anyone else?
Jorge,
Jorge,
please
we can't
unmute.
hear you.
Jorge's blind, so he may have some struggle with his stuff. So other people go first, and then hopefully gets
Okay.
Jorge,
I'm
you're
gonna text him.
muted.
Yeah,
Unmute your
unmute.
microphone.
DJ, are you there?
I'm here, but it's really being moderated. This question moderated
Ed,
by
are you
Wolfgang.
there?
So Wolfgang should
Jorge's
be
having a
referred.
bit of a problem, so I'll please remind me of the question and I'll go ahead and go
Yeah,
next.
refer to Wolfgang for all moderator for this thing, right? So
Sure.
Wolfgang will get to determine
Yeah.
who's next.
How will you best implement a truly sustainable and environmental policy?
I
Energy and
remember what you're talking
environmental
about.
policy.
So I drive an EV. I own an EV. I never got any. If you're not speaking, please mute your mic because it does interfere. My bandwidth is very, very bad, so it's hard to understand other people. Dennis, I think your mic is on. Can you please mute your
Yes,
mic?
I just wanted to say that I'm going to have to leave. Ed, appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight, and it's getting late where I'm at, and I appreciate the opportunity to answer questions, and I think you all
Thanks
are
a lot.
doing
Yeah,
a good job,
that's fine.
you know, and
All right,
we
we'll
just
catch up
want
later,
to.
all right? Check out the interview with myself and Dennis Ball. And sorry, got to drop out. Let's just continue on. If you have to leave, folks, just drop out. Yeah, don't worry about it, all right? You don't have to interrupt the show. All right? Thanks
All
again,
right.
folks. All right, let's just keep going. Go ahead,
Okay.
John. You next. Go ahead.
I think I was. Never mind. Go ahead,
Yeah,
John.
Blake is actually in the middle of talking, I believe. All right,
Okay,
if you want me to go ahead.
whoever's up, then go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah, Blake, you can finish and then I'll go. Is he still here? Okay, I guess I'll go. All right. So basically, I have a plan where I would implement a policy where our fuel and our coal companies and stuff like that would be required to research alternative green energy. Number one, it helps fund this. Because we like with our country, we do need to manage our spending. We're over $30 trillion in debt. I believe that, implementing to where these corporations are required to do this research themselves, it would help with getting that done, especially if they get some sort of a tax like write-off or, perk for doing so. I call it clean up after yourself. It's one of the most basic things that we're taught as children. And I would implement this on day one. Don't get me wrong, there is going to be times where this country is going to have to itself invest as well.
Okay. Let's see. Jorge, are you there? Oh, your mic is still muted. Susan, do you want to go? And then we'll try to get to Jorge.
Okay, so trees. I've been driving all over the country, and we have some states that have a lot of them, but a lot of states have hardly any. And I've seen spots where they do grow. So we can grow trees in the prairies and in the desertish areas. We need to get started because it takes a while for trees to get root and then grow, and they apparently help to stop and prevent tornadoes. So we need to plant some really good strong trees like redwood trees. everywhere. I suggest we really get, 1 million trees every year, certainly, all over the prairie areas. We can leave some prairies, but we don't need to leave as much as we have, because the next step of a prairie is a desert, and we don't want that. We don't want to be the next Egypt. We want water, we want resources, we want animals, we want all of that. And so we got to get planting trees. That's the best thing we can do. The other thing is, we are the biggest polluters per person out of all of the countries out there. So we need to move to hybrid vehicles. I don't think we'd have to move to all electronic vehicles. I don't think that we can do that. People love driving. They're not going to give up their cars, but we got to come up with a good way and a quick and easy way to switch a car from a gas guzzling engine to a gas use engine that works with energy and gets better mileage, so that we don't produce so much pollution. And then we need to get some sort of work done on the pollution that does come from vehicles. I don't know how to enforce that, but there's got to be some way. And then solar panels. We can put solar panels on top of all the parking lots, put them up high enough so that trucks can even come in and park. Shade. We need shade because we're creating too much heat, and the heat is causing a lot of problems. So these are my solutions for the planet, for the ecology, and cleaner air and everything. Trees produce oxygen, so you can't get better than that.
Okay. Jorge, did you unmute your mic up? No? Oh, you're still having technical problems. Who else wants to answer that? Anyone else? Okay. Let's see. Can we still?
Yeah, this is Paul Fiorino out of Colorado. I'm still on the trail and campaigning for the congressional district number 4, which essentially is our oil basin. Denver, the Denver basin really has so much oil in it right now. So I would say Colorado has the best chance to lead in the new environmental hope of transition from fossil to flow. And that includes all the things that just have been talked about. I've been listening the whole time. And I think that with Colorado's initiatives on methane, for one thing, is very important, but can go further. And our emphasis on some new crops, including the hemp factor that is already started there. We have a real opportunity with also the fact that we've lost so much time, that this next election really will tell us if we have more time or not, I think. But my emphasis here in Colorado as a candidate, first and foremost, has always been the environment, water, number one issue being that, snow, which is coming down today for the first time, or we'll wake up to it tomorrow morning because it's in the mountains right now. So that's our industry, right? Tourism. And so tourism serves us in so many ways. And so if our reservoirs start drying up and we just need to keep it for water instead of recreation. And then, of course, let's not talk about our golf courses, but there's enough said about those. And then the opportunity that we have really to get those new technologies. Folks, we are in the quantum era. We just entered that. We've been in it, but the public just found out about it. AI, right? So that's where we are now. And I'm in the throes after Tuesday of developing a television station, for crying out loud. Denver, Colorado Television.com, bctv.tv.world. This is where it's going. And, I think the candidates already have their own television station. But Colorado is really a leader in so many ways. We are the cable capital of the world. This is where cable started. Satellite
Okay,
TV.
that's good from a communication standpoint, but you're getting off the environmental question.
No, that is it. That's it. You just said it. Communication. Our communication has dropped considerably to, the great things of environmental reuse, recycling, and restoration of old buildings. We're tearing down buildings like they're, they don't mean anything. I'm trying to save a few right here in the Golden Triangle, and we invite you all to come and visit. Okay,
thank you.
I made my pitch.
Thank you. Can we get to Jorge? Is your mic muted? Can we unmute, please? Anyone? You seem to have you're having bandwidth problems, or?
Jorge's blind, so he may be trying to figure out his system.
Okay.
If there's any other candidates who want to say something, then
yes, please.
Since we're dealing with the issue of the environment,
I'm sorry,
presidential.
Jorge's back, yeah. Let's let Jorge go, and then Mutio, unless any president wants to finish, but we'll let Jorge finish up with Wolfgang over here. Jorge, can you hear us? You're muted. Your mic is off. Can you turn on your mic? You're muted on the on your laptop. Yeah, we cannot hear you. You're muted. I'll type it in. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Can you go to full screen?
All right. All right. So give me a second. All right. At the end of the casting,
if you hold your phone,
we haven't gone yet.
If you hold your phone up to the microphone, DJ Alf,
did
then
you want to finish saying what
maybe we can hear him.
I'm sorry, folks. All right.
Muti, did you want to finish what you were saying?
Yeah, in terms of since the focus right now seems to be on the environment, I would be interested in what the candidates had to say about the fact that candidate Harris was pro fracking, or excuse me, was anti-fracking, and then once she discovered that she was in the seat to sit on the throne, she changed her position. And she did so by looking us right in the face and pretending that she wasn't just yesterday for fracking. And instead of just telling us that she received new information, and as a result, she changed her position, she just looked us in the eyes and said, no, I was never against fracking. What do you have to say about candidates, not just Harris, but also Trump as well, who just look us in the eye and just lie? And if you're elected president, dare I ask the question, would you treat us the same way?
So my question to you is, do you know all that information about my stance or Susan's stance or anybody else on this panel stance? We have this inkling to just allow the media to tell us what's important. It's your job as an American citizen to know who the presidential candidates are. It's not your job to just be involved in whatever the media tells you is important. That's the problem with our entire system right now, is that we have this assumption that somebody else is supposed to be informing us of who we need to be paying attention to. I would very highly argue that you should have been paying to that same amount of attention that you just gave to another presidential candidate. If you gave an ounce of that over the past year to anybody on this panel, it would have made a great difference. But instead, we keep touting the stories and the narratives of the same people who are oppressing us. The only things that you focus on are the only things that get the chance to grow. So if you focus on the solution will grow. But if you continue to focus on the problem grows.
I would only add to that, Davi, is that my bringing that up was from the standpoint of independent journalists, and it was an opportunity for the candidates, yourself included, to talk about why not only is that unimportant or indicative of the dishonesty of the candidates, but then it would provide an opportunity for you and the rest of the candidates to show the answers or solutions that they have to address those very same concerns.
Right. So I've already addressed my approach to the lands, but what I will say is that I took a stance as the avatar of Earth. So my whole focus is Earth, and what we are doing right now is we have to change our conversation. So you just heard somebody else who just said fracking was great in Colorado. Okay, cool. That's not great for the land. It's great for profits, and the very nature of how we actually approach our land is profit focused rather than sustainability focused, rather than ongoing focus. We need to rehabilitate our buffalo in the West. There's a lot of things that are going on in our nation, but we have to begin to listen to and pay attention to those who are offering the solutions that reflect our own personal will.
I concur. However, as the moderator, it's my job. The things that you just expressed, I know personally because I did the research. However, as the moderator, it's my job to just extrapolate whether or not you all have done your research and have views and plans and proposals to solve those problems. Anybody else wanted? Susan, your hands up.
Can you tell me the question again, please?
The question was, because we're talking about the environment, candidate Harris, prior to even having her hat thrown into the ring, had took a position that was anti-fracking in the state of Pennsylvania. Without giving you.
Okay.
He just cut out.
Yeah, so I remember the question now. So the issue is, why did she change her position? Why do presidential candidates change their position? Because it's an election year, and they're going to say whatever they're being told in the polls that they should say. They're just yes people. And so as long as it's a election year, this is going to happen, that they're going to change their position and go with whatever their guidance people are telling them to do. That is the problem. The Democrats and Republicans, they're liars. Don't trust them. Don't vote them in. And don't, on our tax forms every year, we get that, we get to a part where it says, do you want to donate $1 or $3 to the presidential campaign fund? Don't give to that, because we're the problem. Why they're making all these stupid commercials and sending us all these stupid texts and emails. We give them money there, and then they ask us during the election for money, and they make commercials about it and send texts, give us donations, and then they get paid back from that fund for those donations. So we're doubly and triply paying them money. So stop donating to the presidential campaign fund, because I'm tired of hearing all these stupid commercials about them asking for money. They don't need money. So we're giving them money to harass us with these dumb commercials. So stop it, please. But the point is, it's an election year. So they're going to say whatever they're told they should say. And how can you know if we're not going to do it? Well, I have, I think, a pretty good track record. I've been working since 22 on getting rid of this thing called registering to vote that has a lot of fraud in it. We heard this a couple of months ago that Texas, they discovered over 1 million names were wrong. Over 1 million names were wrong on their voter list. We need to work with the Social Security list, where every person, every citizen has one number, one address, period. It cannot be mistaken. And it's a checks and balance on that list too. So it works both ways. And so, we don't need to have our Secretary of State and our election division and our county clerks spending time working on a list that they don't need to work on. They actually need to inform us, not through the newspaper, not through Fox or MSNBC or any CNN. They need to inform us with the post office, a letter, an envelope that has information in it about who is running for what office, what we have to vote on in the upcoming election, whether we have to vote on money, spending money on a new school or a bridge, or if we have to make changes to our state constitution. That's their job, is to inform us, the citizens, the voters, what we have to vote on. That's their job, not keeping a list of fake names and changing it when a Democrat's in or when a Republican's in. They need to focus on the people, and that's what they're not doing. So vote anybody but a Democrat and Republican. I would also like to say, I don't know about the Libertarians and the Green Party anymore. There's a lot of good and bad people in a lot of the parties, but it's hard to know who. So vote write-in whenever possible. And I hope the Supreme Court moves forward with my lawsuit so that we can have a valid and transparent election where we know what we're voting on and we get the information from the election division and we are prepared. If you want to find out more about my plan, go to my website, susan4usa.com, and you can find out all about my lawsuit that's pending and how it can work for all of us. And it's susan4usa.com.
Wait a minute, Susan. Wait a minute. I gotta be a little bit more sharp. You just gave a beautiful exegesis on the status of the politics today from presidential on down. But then you turned around because you have an appeal pending before the United States Supreme Court. The same political process that produced that Supreme Court, and you're actually looking for them to rule in your favor, considering that it's a corrupt entity that produced the current United States Supreme Court?
My lawsuit is written in a way that there's only one answer. And the answer is that it is unconstitutional to force U.S. citizens to register to vote to have their vote counted. So currently, slowly, what I've noticed since I placed this lawsuit in February, that because I had to do a new one, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know what I'm doing. I'm doing this all on my own, trying to make it happen. And I've been trying since 22. But the point is that I am getting results from not only the governors and the Secretary of States, but also from the Supreme Court. They are listening to me. They know that I have a good heart and that I'm trying to bring good change. And even some of the bad people are changing in a good way. I hate to say it. So, but maybe that's encouraging that there's reform going on as we're going through this process. But I have a lawsuit that states, is it constitutional to force U.S. citizens to register to vote to have their vote counted? And the answer is no, it's not constitutional. States cannot force us to register to have our vote counted. It clearly states in the 14th Amendment, nothing comes between a U.S. citizen and their rights. And one of our rights is the right to vote and have it counted. It's not to register to vote first, it's to vote and have it counted. And so also in West Virginia right now, if I do a provisional ballot, they're going to say, oh, we got to put it before a judge, like a group of people. There's like some committee that they're going to show it to. Like my vote has to be judged to be voted? No, I am a freaking citizen. So are all of you. We all have a right to have our vote counted. No committee gets to decide whether they're going to count it or not. I can prove my citizenship right now, right here. So, I don't know where the states are getting off doing this, but it's actually people appointed by the Democrats and Republicans. So just don't vote Democrat and Republican, period. Vote anyone else. That's the only way at this point. The Supreme Court is working on it. I have the FBI working on it. So I have people checking the system. There's going to probably be a whole bunch of people being sued or people being arrested very soon. I have a feeling. So we got to go through the motions, but I think things are going to go in my favor. And I think soon we'll have a new election. On top of this election, we'll be having a new election very soon. That's all I have to
So,
say.
okay, great. Well, let's take one of the more speculative approaches again, because we're dealing with presidential politics. This is a matter of warfare within the borders of the United States. Much has been said, folks publicly and privately, particularly privately, for our fear that there will be a civil war, whether or not Donald Trump elected or not elected. They fear that if he is not elected, there will be an outright civil war, and they feel and think that if he is elected, wage war and lift up arms against
Muti, you're
brother
breaking
brother.
up, brother. You're breaking up.
You hear me now?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. They feel that if he is elected, that if he's not elected, it will be open warfare in the streets. And if he is elected, those who would wage war and lift up arms, brother against brother, will feel emboldened to wage war. Does anybody have a view on that? If you,
I don't think
base
it's
my
a
life on
problem.
any other man. So I really don't like that we keep going back to the red and blue candidates when all of us are clearly putting on our own presidential candidacies. We've been doing that for over a year now. Like this is ridiculous that we have to keep talking about other presidential candidates who are not with us. So I don't want to talk about that, and I don't want to talk about anybody's civil war based on somebody one man. That makes absolutely no sense. If you want to go out outside and hurt somebody randomly because somebody didn't go, a billionaire didn't get elected, that is actually we need to address that as a mental health concern before we address it as a social concern. We need to be more concerned about our own nation before we're concerned about individuals who are already rich and already have the privilege to do whatever they want. It's ridiculous. Let's focus the conversation on and respect the presidential candidacies that are here today.
Dobby, point taken, but not well point taken.
No, it was well point. It was very well taken. So I don't need to talk about any other presidential candidates.
I say that because even though neither one of those candidates are here,
they don't talk about me. Are they talking about me? If they're not talking about me, I don't need to talk about them. And I don't want the moderator to keep talking about the other presidential candidates. If you want to interview them, you can interview them. But I'm not here to talk about them.
We're talking about, you don't have to answer the question, that's fine. But we're talking about the possibility of bloodshed in this country based on one man who has influence.
It's not going to happen.
That's like to say January 6th never happened because of one man. So that's a real thing, and that's a real issue. You don't have to answer it if you don't want, but if anybody like to have at it, please do so. That's the question on the floor.
It's not going to happen. I know these people are threatening things, and there might be small outbreaks of violence, but that's up to the states. They need to take care of that. They have the National Guard. They're there for a reason. I mean, yeah. And Biden, who is president, if something happens, he has to work on that. So, but I don't think it's going to be a big deal.
Anyone else has a view on that?
I agree. I think, we as presidential candidates need to realize that fear is the factor, and as candidates, I think we are probably fearless or we're stupid, one or the other. But the fact is that we have the opportunity to voice our opinions still for the next day, maybe. But what's happening in America right now, we're still Americans. I've been campaigning. People are good people. They've just been misinformed and misdirected. Thank you.
Okay. Now, Seven, you can take over if you so desire.
Oh, I think Stevenson, you had a question as well? Stevenson.
I mean, I didn't say that, but if I have the opportunity to ask a question, then sure.
Yeah, you got one more question left. I think that then we'll all have done our second shot. Go ahead. Then we'll finish it up.
Okay. So, one thing that's been around, well, used to be around for a while was the gold standard, right? And I'm wondering and I know another person touched on this before, but do you think we should bring back gold standard or the bimetal standard?
We need a higher standard than metals. We're actually way beyond the point where our actual money can in any way be tied to what the Federal Reserve has done with their unhinged printing of money. So what my plan does is creates a digital currency that is based on a new incentive that is not just about making more money, but instead what the humans value. We basically create a currency that we value ourselves, and then it becomes really actually much more valuable than any other precious metal, simply because it is our agreed upon reason for having business, having economy, having a nation that utilizes a replacement for collateral instead of direct trade.
Yeah, that's already the case though with most currencies. Like for example, Bitcoin, it's based just on people's trust of it.
Exactly,
If
and
our
that's why
currency is
Bitcoin is
tied
worth
to
more than
nothing,
gold
then
right
I
now.
feel then our currency is worth nothing.
Right, that's your feeling, right? But that's
Yeah.
that's a reflection of Bitcoin not being based in anything, right? It's just based on somebody creating Bitcoin. So if we have a currency that's based on the intention, which is humans in America having a thriving economy, then that currency will be valued higher by the people who are valuing it. I mean, this whole thing is all about people's hype. I mean, really, that's all we're chasing at the end of the day when it comes to the stock market, when it comes to the currencies. It's just hype. So how do we actually begin to control our hype and use our hype to benefit us?
Okay, and Susan, you have your hand raised.
So truthfully, I actually, I've been doing just a little bit of research on money and stuff and reading the Constitution. And I actually don't think that Bitcoin is actually a legal thing. I think that's actually illegal. The only people allowed to make currency according to our government, so our Constitution, is the government, is the federal government. And I believe it's the Congress. So Bitcoin is actually illegal, and we could technically probably arrest everybody involved. Also, Texas wants to become a stock and go on the stock exchange. I think that falls into that category too. Like I said, Abbott is just out of control. He's got open borders and doing all sorts of crazy things down there. So anyway, I think that we got these people who misunderstand what freedom means. And if we all would read our Constitution and understand it word for word a bit better, we would probably be able to move forward as a country a bit better. So I don't know why and where all this conversation about all of this is going. I don't know if it's better to move it back to metals like gold or silver. That I would have to look at, but just scratching the surface of this whole conversation about money, I believe these people are actually breaking the law between trying to turn Texas into a stock and these Bitcoin things. So I have to do more homework, is what I have to say. I'm not.
Because you can say the same thing about the Federal Reserve, because the government is technically not printing money. It's the Federal Reserve, which is a private company.
Right. And see, I have a problem with us using all these private companies to do our business. We have a right to be a country, you know, and we've been attacked by the Democrats and Republicans saying, oh, the federal government's too big and all of this. And it's actually not. It's these states and it's the people running the government that are too big. And that would be the Democrats and Republicans because they've never let anyone else in. So we got to get rid of them, and then we can get our country back. We have been taken over. We are occupied by the Democrats, Republicans, and it's the Christian Zionists inside of both political parties who are really using our country. We've turned into missionaries for Jesus, and we've gone around the whole world and destroyed all sorts of cultures in the name of Jesus, and it has to stop.
Okay, Jorge, we can hear you now.
Good. Finally, thank you. Went through 4 systems. Went to Google. Google works better than Apple. Okay. All right, get me in there. I want to chew on something right now.
We're just talking about the currencies. What do you feel about the currencies?
Okay, this is my proposal. It's very serious. It needs to happen like right now. No ifs and or about it. 1976, we got we're backed by the petrodollar, Nixon, right? All right, Biden cuts it off 4 years ago. We're not backed by anything. We're empty. We're in debt. We owe everybody. Big trouble. We got the Brisk Alliance about to crush us. You got George Soros just pulling the damn line. It's going to collapse. So the gold and all that stuff is that. We need to seriously talk about that. I propose backing the American dollar by the techno dollar, bringing Taiwan into American ground soil, bringing the technology. We have to dominate our economy. We got to safeguard the future of this technology, you know, preventing the wars. They're going to lose it. We can't take it once they go into battle. And that's just the next step. So if you want to be smart, we want to protect our interests and our future welfare, the beings and economy, bring Taiwan into American ground. And then convert these third world countries from the peso to the American dollar. So they don't come here, we go there. We got Americanized. We're suffocating the whole freaking world because you're using lobbyists and capitalistic companies smashing, you know, so it's happening. Sorry, let me turn that off. That was my friend calling me to get the video on. So yeah, bringing the third world countries to the American dollar, backing it by the techno dollar, bringing Taiwan here. It'll structure, revamp, but the problem is that it is a lobbyist, it is a capitalist, and they're on both sides. But you got George Soros. His job is to break the bank right now, and he's almost done. So this is where we got to work together to get people like this out of here, out of American soil. That's what I have to say about that part right now. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
That's all the candidates.
Okay.
So as far as the Bitcoin and the NFTs and all the other various ways of making money, and now we're finding out that people who have lost their home actually have a lot of money still sitting there. And if they don't get it within 3 years, then the government takes it and they're happy with that. So the whole idea of foreclosures and dealing with various stocks and bonds. And thanks, Susan. That's the first I heard of Texas wanting to go, you know, Wall Street. But, you know, I think we are here in Colorado. We did invest in Wall Street with our pension and lost hugely. So, you know, any state should not be investing like that. It's against the Constitution, as you say, you know. But the opportunity for the alternative financing has its own life and its own blockchain. And blockchain, now we have to think of that in the same vein as the American dollar. It's all connected with a huge amount of data and energy. They have to build buildings to mine these bits. Buildings have to be built. We're talking huge real estate projects all over the world now going on. So I don't think it's going away. But America, as far as the silver and the gold, we had those days, and we had the best of them right here in Denver and Leadville, Colorado. Over and out.
Okay, Fiona, if I couldn't ask you something, can you mention the blockchain? Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and VP Nicole Schnahan, one of the things they proposed was putting the entire U.S. budget on blockchain to make it easy for the public to go in, check how the money is being spent. What do you think of that?
Well, I think it's also very transparent anyway. So, when you lose your money, everybody knows you lost your money. But the fact is that we have countries that I think should be raised up with micro financing, micro loans. Those are the things that are going to change the world, not the Bitcoin. Bitcoin is for the billionaires. That's why billionaires are building up, exponential, really, with this movement. So the blockchain, again, is moving us in that direction. We are, like I said in the beginning of this whole thing today, was quantum technology is here. It's here, and AI is going to be running finances and doing all that stuff and making sure it's done right and can't be messed with. So we're going to have a very transparent future here very soon, one way or the other. And if it goes one way, then they'll put, a stamp on our forehead, and you can't buy or sell unless you have it. Or we'll maintain a democracy that says we, the people, still have a voice in this country, whether we have party systems or not.
I have a proposal on.
Yep. Navala.
Okay, the Bitcoins I feel is very dangerous. It's encrypted. It's made to wash and launder money. You got $1 billion of Coke money you got to wash. This gold, just use Bitcoins. It's unstable. It's unsafe. It's encrypted. It terrorizes our balance of our own value. And the future is here, but the future is of its structure is damned. You can't grow on with a bad foundation. If Bitcoins or digital currency was not encrypted and was accountable at the end, then transparency could be a cause. But at this point, it's going to destroy the American dollar. I mean, we already see what's happening with the BRISC alliance. When they take control, they'll cut your bank account off. You're going to like that? I don't think so. I do like it cutting or regulating the people up top, but all you can do just disperse the money different ways. So Bitcoins, I feel, is very dangerous and stable at this point right now.
Okay. Anyone else? Or okay. DJ, anything you want?
Yeah, well, hey, I guess that's pretty much it. Hey, thanks again for checking out the show. We do actually have a whole series on this, and I will probably be having one-on-one interviews with these moderators and also the presidential candidates later on. I'm going to check the chat right here, see if anybody has anything else they want to add. Just want to thank all the presenters once again for coming on today. Some people did come on late. Jorge, did you want to share your website or anything like that?
Thank you. The website's converting to the Amplify Accessibility Green Tech Coalition. So that's changing, but the website is votejz.org, VOTEJZ.org. And on there, you're also going to find the Constitution for Palestine. So if you want to safeguard and balance things out, take a look at the Constitution there that I created. And I think that would solve all our problems. Thanks again for the time, and sorry for coming in late. And God bless America. Thank you.
It's okay. Just so you know, I recently also emailed Green Party Asia, Europe, and also Canada this morning, along with a bunch of Green presidential candidates, things like that. and other grassroots organizers about what's going on in the Green Party. And once again, thank you
So-called
so
Green
much
Party.
for for everybody coming. The moderators, Muti, it's amazing to have you a part of this. iPod, right? Stevenson, Malloy, you guys were incredible. All the president's candidates who attended. I will just follow DGL7 to find out more information about this and other ongoing work. And Fiorino just posted up his FiorinoforColorado.com. It's posted on the screen. I guess that's a wrap, folks. So I'm just going to actually end the stream right now. Once again, check out DGL7 and sign up for the mailing list. We will be continuing this work. We did this in 22. We're doing it again. Any last words, folks? Go ahead, say it while I'm closing out.
Candidates, you did an excellent job. Many of what you presented here this evening was far superior to that which I've been hearing, the garbage that I've been hearing from the so-called duopoly.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
I
DJ.
appreciate that.
Thank you, Muti.